Attention carriers, brokers, and dispatchers. You're tuned into the eCarrierCheck channel, where we bring you the insider tips, tricks, and insights to drive your sales and logistics business to new heights. Each week, your hosts, Jared and Nate, sit down with the top professionals in the industry, diving deep into everything from prospecting and cold calling to maintaining carrier relationships and maximizing your bottom line. Learn real-world strategies, hear success stories, and get actionable advice you can implement in your business today. So buckle up and get ready for an entertaining and informative ride. This is the eCarrierCheck channel, your source for can't-miss logistics intelligence. Stay tuned.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Happy hump day, Jared. Happy hump day, Jeff. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Super excited, man. Since we last talked, you kind of you're going in some different directions, which we love because that's kind of what we like to do as well. Obviously, go in different directions, but we want to fight fraud going on in this industry, and that's kind of been Jared's goal. When I first met Jared, that's kind of been his goal with the eCarrierCheck. Let's fight the fraud and let's build relationships to fight that fraud. So. Again, everyone, Jeff Dickinson here with RGTX Logistics Solutions and co-founder and president of Freight Fraud Task Force. I'm excited to hear more about that from Jeff today, but really quick, Jared, how's your week been, man? It's Wednesday. How's it been? I was out yesterday, so I'm excited to hear this.
I don't know about you, and Jeff Jeff's in the trenches every day, but honestly, I hear brokers growing pretty consistently right now. And they're doing it intentionally. They're doing it on their own. They're picking up their phone. They're building relationships. They're just kind of that old school way. And it's been kind of fun to be a part of those conversations this week.
I love that.
And so that's probably been my favorite part. A very, very positive week. A lot going on kind of before fall, I think, sort of hits. Fall was yesterday. I think first day of fall was yesterday or the day before, something like that this week. But, obviously, Jeff, you've been in the industry for 40 plus. There was a moment, there was a story, there was a situation, there's an emotional scar that said, I need to jump in. I need to help. And what's interesting about you, and I really want to talk about the task force, but just general observation since we've known you, they had those crazy floods down in Tennessee, Kentucky area. And Jeff was like, I'm going to help. I'm going to take care of this. These people need my help right now. And you were the first to friggin' raise your hand to say, hey, I'm coordinating this. Here's the opportunity. You want to help? Great. If not, I'm going to go. And sure as hell, you just started friggin' delivering freight. But I got to ask, what was the moment when you said, we have got to stand up as an industry and start fighting fraud?
Well, a very good friend of mine, Adam Spencer. I don't know if you know Adam, but he gave me a call, and he lived in Tennessee before he moved to Florida. And he says, hey, Jeff, I want to ask you if you can help me on something, if you know any distribution centers anywhere in this. We started talking. And he told me about what really got me going. Truthfully, he told me about these two children that were walking naked, muddy, and they were trying to find their parents, and apparently they died. And where they were walking, they could have been walking on top of their parents and didn't know because of the devastation. Like, I think that's an understatement. It was horrible down there in Asheville and Bat Cave, that whole area into eastern Tennessee. And that was just a trigger mechanism, because I could just picture those kids, being where they were and not knowing what their next step is because mom and dad's not around. And, it happened on the 27th of September, and we had boots on the ground on the 30th. I mean, that's how fast we did that. We sent down, I would say, 12 truckloads of freight down there, of all essential supplies, MREs, brand new generators, water, you name it. We started renting equipment down there so they could rebuild the roads. We started building 24 by 15 platforms to get families off the mud because their homes were gone. There were mudslides and everything. And we tried to build these so that we could set up tents and run electricity and get propane up there so they would have heat. And we had railings put on these 24 by 15 platforms because they had a lot of little children. We didn't want them falling off and stuff. We built several of them, and it was just unbelievable. And then I connected with the North Carolina Cavalry. And it was ran by an ex-state patrolman, state police patrolman here in New Jersey that moved down there. He's also a cybersecurity guy as well. And we became best of friends, and we started leaning on each other. And he had a warehouse that he rented down there, and then he had some guys down there that had trucks with small trailers to get up into the mountain, and it just started rolling. And we stopped going down there in the first week of April. That's how long that we were down there. Yep. And I mean, we got truckloads of propane distributed out there from I forgot the name of it, Blue something. I forgot the name of the propane company. But it was months ago, and they brought a whole truckload down there and started handing out propane tanks so people could cook. They could get hot water. They could take showers. I mean, because they had no water. They had nothing at all. So
good.
Really, really good. And the connections with my carriers that I had, they moved it pro bono, didn't charge me a thing to go from Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey all the way down there. You need me, Jeff, I'm on it. And it was fantastic. And we became friends.
Yeah,
cool.
that gave me goosebumps, man. That's I love how you and your carriers are just be able to come together and just do this, And that's how I know. I mean, we love you, Jeff, and that just proves it right there, man. You're a great guy.
Yeah, dude.
A lot of people just see transaction when stuff like this happens. You see a way. Hey, I have a way to help people, and your carriers even saw that too. So wow, that really gave me goosebumps, man.
Oh, just incredible.
Wow.
But I love the aspect that you go so hard when it goes to giving back. Obviously, I think in the recent 6 months, you've had the opportunity to start to kind of step back a little bit, say no to some things, kind of move things off your plate. Talk to us about that specifically, when it comes to being a leader, being someone that's trying to leave a legacy. Obviously what you're doing and what you're building is going to go longer than what you're in this industry, your time in this industry. What's that look like? Saying no, kind of clearing off your plate and really just trying to trail ahead.
Yeah, being in this industry as long as I have, it's a blindsided industry. Every day that you work in logistics, you don't know what's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. You can't. You don't know what time or day that it's going to happen, but something's going to hit the fan. That's for sure. And you can't take it personally, but you have to be extremely focused in on your skills and your tasks in front of you. A lot of people have the big picture like myself, but there's a time where you have to have that tunnel vision and you have to let things go so that you can concentrate on priorities and set those priorities straight. And, a couple months ago, I was doing a lot of podcasting and I had to give that up because I started up the Freight Fraud Task Force. Actually, it was over 11 months ago that we had the idea of doing that. And I say we because I started talking to Dale Prax of Freight Validate, and we were just talking, having a good conversation, and we just thought of this idea. And Dale is very, very busy, as you well know. He's out there and he's working on that side of the business. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it. And I'm going to build a committee. And I was able to build a committee with some freight fraud fighters. You know, John Cantera, the bounty hunter, you know, he's the co-chairman of it. We just started reaching out to people, and with everybody we got on board, I think we have over 400 years of experience in all areas of the industry, who have at one time fought freight fraud, theft, the double brokering, you know, cybersecurity, that kind of stuff, and people that actually work in it to prevent that from happening. Now, I'll be honest, and I say this, and you know, I've been challenged before when I said this, because a lot of people cannot say this, guys. I've never faced freight fraud, theft, or double brokering in 45 years. I've never had anything lifted because I thought like a thief, you know, because you have to outsmart, you know, you have to outthink the thinkers that are out there. And listen, we have a lot of great tools out there. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. There's great vetting tools that are out there, but to me, it's more of the after effect. It's the reactive part of stopping the problem. I came from the shipper side, where I was working for some of the largest Fortune 500 big, huge shippers, corporate enterprise shippers in the country. And being in that and having that practical experience and setting standards and work instructions and process improvement plans, it comes from within. Every single shipment and fraud starts at the initiator, which is a shipper. I mean, carriers wouldn't move freight, brokers wouldn't move freight if it wasn't a shipper initiating a shipment and going out and reaching this. It's about collaboration. It's about accountability and relationships, strong relationships, you know, and that's where I came from back in the 80s, where, you know, we had the ironclad handshakes and they were golden, and you knew them. You knew your drivers' families, you know, their kids, their likes, their dislikes, you know, they couldn't wait to see you. You couldn't wait to see them. That was the type of relationship that we had, where we can count on each other and know that things weren't going to happen. And then after deregulation in 1980, in June, when the Carter administration signed off on that, and went from intrastate, you know, to interstate, people started losing the respect. I mean, I'm saying over a period of time, over the decades, you know, guys used to wear uniforms, and you had caps, and they had the logo on it, and they were clean shaven, and they really respected the job. You go into their cab, which I had what do you call it? The privilege of going out with a long haul driver. I think everybody should do that to see what happens on the highways and what they go through. You get a better perspective of that, and see what they're up against. You know, that's that respect kind of thing. And things just started going south, guys, like really, really fast. You know, the shippers now don't let them use the facilities. The carriers go in there. The drivers aren't clean. They throw garbage all over the place. I mean, we've really, you know, lost touch base on that. So when you look at that kind of stuff, and I say it starts at the source, it starts with the transportation agreement. It starts with a section of requirements and expectations of what the contract looks like, and put that in great details. Like, if you're going to work for me, these are the things that you are going to do. And then write those work instructions for your dock supervisor. When a carrier bangs the door, this is what you're going to do with the carrier, the driver. You know, there's certain different steps when you make phone calls, you know, and your process, what do you call it? And you're a procurement manager, and you're going out to these, there's a plethora of steps that you have to take to safeguard your goods, you know, and I did well in that. I did very, very well, especially when you're managing over $100 million worth of freight. You got to have your ducks in a row, you know, and you know, if people aren't willing to go and do that, and take those extra steps to safeguard their brand, the image, and their reputation, because let's face it, those three are in every single truckload that moves out there. You know, the shipper's brand, image, and reputation is in there. If they don't watch what they're doing and trying to safeguard all those steps and make sure that they did everything right. That carrier gets into an accident, your brand image and reputation is also tagged to that, especially if there's a fatality. Do you want that on your shoulders, to live the rest of your life knowing that you dispatched a carrier that took somebody out? Things can happen on the road. I'm not saying that it's foolproof, but there's steps that you can minimize those risks that a lot of people don't do. They don't have the work instructions or anything. And as you know, logistics industry is a speed performance industry. And sometimes that speed is dominant over due diligence, and that's what causes those problems of missteps. That they don't take that, or the lack of training. So, I started up this freight fraud task force with the idea of working from the inside out rather than the outside in. And I said that for years. Anybody that followed me or any of my posts or anything like that, I'm always an inside out guy rather than an outside in. The more you know about how the mechanisms of logistics are intertwined and how they work amongst themselves to make a shipment happen, the better perspective that you have, and the more of an understanding of how those things work and why you do the things that you do to protect yourself.
Yeah.
I love that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Good gracious. So much to break down there. You kind of hit on the head. We see so many younger brokers come in, carriers come in, and they just feel like they have to go 100 mile an hour. And it's like, we gotta just, let's make sure we follow the process. Let's make sure and honestly, because of the lack of process some days, this is how easy it is to slip through with a fraudulent activity. And, everyone has to start somewhere. But those details are wildly important. You can't skip details in this industry because it'll cost you. It'll definitely cost you.
It does. It does. And, I also stepped it up because nobody's done this in the industry when it comes to freight fraud fighting and preventative measures. So I created an unprecedented partnership with the TLP and SNA, which is the Total Loss Prevention and Security Association, which evolved from the ATA back in 2000s, the American Trucking Association, where it used to be called the Transportation Loss Prevention and Security Council, but they changed the council to the association when they broke loose, and it's from the ATA, and the president is a highly regarded transportation lawyer who has done many case studies and fought many cases out there, in the country. And we're very good friends now. And then I also partnered with USI Insurance Services. They're the fourth largest commercial broker insurance company in the country at $2.8 billion. And now we're working in partnerships, doing it a different way. There's no vetting company out there that has a legal side of the way that you do things, and then on the insurance side, who insures the carriers and the brokers and the shippers and all of that. So it's at ground zero. It's at the source, to make changes on things that maybe aren't in the insurance agreement when they get on board, and the requirements and the expectations. And we could save them money by implementing various steps to protect them, and it protects us as well because we're consumers. And those type of issues that are out there when there's theft and all of that, the shippers don't absorb that. That goes into the COGS, which is the cost of goods sold. We're paying for that kind of stuff. Everybody in the United States is paying for that stuff when theft happens. And it's very important. So I wanted to do things different. I've always been that type of person that I'm not a follower. I don't want to go down the same lane as other people. If I'm going to create my path, I'm going to go down the highest weeded path with the largest sickle and just go nuts and find my own way. It worked for me. I listen, the evolution of logistics has changed in the last 45 years, especially when it comes to tech. I've followed that. I've learned that. I've worked with many different TMS systems and WMS systems and YMS systems. I mean, just keep on naming it, and that's how I've been able to evolve, and that's why I understand it a little bit more. I'm not a know-it-all. I'll be the first one to say I'm not a know-it-all, and there's not any one person out there that knows it all either. Nobody's an expert, and there's a big problem in the industry too, where a lot of people are unable to say, hey, you know what? I don't know. Let me find out and I'll get that answer for you, rather than BS and say something that they shouldn't, that's going to misdirect somebody, So,
yeah, it's interesting the sophistication level of fraudulent activity going on. These people aren't, they're definitely take it to a different level of thinking. We've talked to a couple different small carriers that literally emails got hacked. Next thing you know, a week or two later, someone else is booking freight on their aspect. And I'm sure you've heard several of stories like this because you're in the trenches, Jeff. From a small carrier perspective, what can they be doing to just protect themselves? Because it seems like, there's some really good people. There's people that are hardworking, blue collar Americans that are trucking down the road and doing their best. And unfortunately, one good fail swoop and they could be out of business. I've seen it, and it's like what, from their perspective, from a carrier's perspective, how can they be protecting themselves, or what can they do to get involved with the Freight Fraud Task Force, even though they're a 1 or 2 to 5 truck perspective?
Hey, they can reach out to us. I mean, I'm in the process of rebuilding our new website. The other website just isn't sufficient for what we want to do. Especially on the membership side as well. So that will be up and running in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have one up, but it's not sustainable. It's not really going to bring us to where we need to be. So that's going to be up and going. They can always reach out, follow the Freight Fraud Task Force, and then we vet every person that wants to become a member. Right now, we're going to step it up a little bit more because we want to deal with, ethical people, if you will, that everybody has the same mindset, of a non-fraud industry. I mean, is it going to get there? I don't think so. There's always going to be some scammers and fraudsters out there that are going to infiltrate somewhere, somehow. But if we put the right steps in place, we can minimize those issues and protect people. The other thing too is, the spot market, the load boards. I call that the petri dish for fraud. I mean, that's where fraud blooms. When you've got shippers that don't understand, that drive into the bottom and they go out to 15 brokers, and you see the same lane out there with like a $200 difference or a $300 difference. It's the same lane. You see it 15 times. Stay away. It's just like, listen, carriers need to make a living. We're not a nonprofit. Number one, right? Everything that we do, we're not a 501c3. Except the Freight Fraud Task Force is. I'm saying, if you want to make money, we're not a nonprofit, and everybody knows that. And don't be afraid to ask a shipper, oh, you don't want to pay that? What are you, a nonprofit organization or something? Come on, you make profit. We all make profit. Let's work together and figure this thing out. And small carriers have to have that aggressiveness to go directly to the shippers. Go to events. Feel these people out. The best kind of relationships are when you're in front of a person and you have that EQ, that emotional intelligence, where you can see it in their eyes and their mannerisms, whether they're BSing you or telling you the way that it truly is. And that's where magic happens, even like at the, and I'll say it because I'm a big backer of the Broker Carrier Summit as well. They're doing great things there, and that's where people can meet industry professionals, whether brokers, they're carriers, freight forwarders, you name it, and they build those type of relationships. A lot of them come away with that with business. So there's so many different things that they can do, and you just got to be careful out there. You have and call back and stay away from the Gmails and all that other kind of stuff. That's just fraud sitting up. And I'm saying that because I used to have my email was a Gmail email, and I don't think of that because I'm an ethical person. I'm not, I don't think of those things. And I was like, well, you know what? I need to change that. And I did that like maybe, I don't know, last year or whatever, but I always had a Gmail because I never thought of it. And I said, you know what? Yeah, we need to do that. So certain things that they need to do.
I agree. What's up, Edjo Logistics Lounge in the house? What's going on, brother? How are you?
Hey,
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
Good to see
yeah. So and I say this again with vetting tools. I'm all for AI, autonomous vehicles. I don't think that it's right now. I think there needs to be a lot more R&D on that before they go full out. Just from everything that I'm reading and all that. But the thing is with the vetting tools, that's what they are. They're vetting tools, but they don't write work instructions or process improvement plans or steps of how to be aware of these certain things. It's like the after effect. Is this MC number good? Is it not? Are they safe? Are they not? It's just so many different things like that. But the standards have to be written from within. That's where I come in. That's what we're trying to do as well. It works. It definitely worked in the past, and I know it's going to work in the future. It's a different tactic, but combined with the vetting tools, we have a better chance. We really do.
Yeah, we had an opportunity of sitting in on one of your meetings, Jeff, and I was impressed on just the consistent message of let's educate people.
Yeah.
Let's let them know, the rights and the wrongs. I loved the professionalism of the board. Honestly, I think you're doing everything right when it comes to, setting up the nonprofit aspect, going out and representing the way you're doing, Jeff, is really, truly phenomenal, because somebody has to do something, because every week we hear similar stories. Oh, I can't move freight because this vetting platform doesn't let me. And we keep telling the same thing, like you're just talking about. You know what? Go out, quit living on the board, go out and build relationships with people, whether they're direct brokers or direct shippers, and really try to just change your own life and have that. And it was a breath of fresh air to be on that meeting, Jeff. I loved it. And you got some good people around you, which I think is, honestly, that's everything. There isn't anything different. That's the best part, is that you got people that really want to try to make a difference.
Yeah. And and what I've learned a long time ago is that you don't want to be the gorilla in the room. A follower will always be a follower, but a leader always hires people that are much smarter than that person who is running the show. You're only as good as the people. So I want highly intelligent people that are backing us up, who are accountable. If they say they're going to commit, they're legit and they do it. Whether they're getting paid for it, if they're working for a nonprofit, if they're in it to win it. And communication is key. And that's what we do. We have meetings every single week. You were on one or two of them. I remember that. And the thing is that we want to get it out there. We want to set the standard, the narrative. We want to collaborate with others. We want them to get involved. We want to find the loopholes and the gaps in organizations that they may not have that experience, where they've never thought of these things. Where that's where we come in with the audits. And the education and creating the best practices and the work instructions and all of that kind of stuff to help them to level up, to take that next step, because, I've got this thing on the backboard, cheapest is the most expensive way to conduct business. And you could save $700 on a load, but if you're not careful, that'll be the most cheapest, expensive decision that you ever made, because that $700 savings could end up $7 million or $70 million because you took the cheapest option and that guy just killed somebody or crashed, whatever. It's not about that. That's a problematic thing in the industry right now, where everybody's diving to the bottom and scraping, and the good guys, the ethical guys that are out there that are trying to make a good buck, and build those relationships, are getting scammed by these outsiders that are totally fraudulent, that are taking money off their table, and they've got to be stopped. They just have to be stopped.
Jeff, we've obviously taken a lot of your time this morning for you to come and spread the word on Freight Fraud Task Force and just the fraud in this industry. And obviously, we attract a lot of newer brokers and carriers, probably more brokers to our channel more than anything. So I'm really glad that we're able to talk about this fraud, because a lot of the new brokers don't really know about the fraud yet, or how to deal with it when it does come. So this was really huge to have a show on it and just kind of know what's out there. So I'm really excited we had Jeff on today. And Jeff, again, thanks for your time. Where can people follow Freight Fraud Task Force? Are you guys on?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. You can also follow me at RGTX Logistics Solutions. We also have an exciting thing coming up next year in 2026 called the Freight Fraud Summit, which is going to be held in New Jersey. We're working on it with my insurance partners and lawyers. It's going to be big. It's going to be a big thing. So, keep on following the Freight Fraud Task Force as well as myself, and we'll give you updates on it.
I love that. Jeff, thank you for being on. We appreciate it. Go out, follow Jeff, follow the Freight Fraud Task Force, because it's worth your time to just stay up to beat, because they're constantly, letting people know of things that are happening. So,
yep. Great community. Thanks again, Jeff. Well, have a great rest of your week. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys Friday.